In addition to the Great Depression, the other event that cemented the dominance of the big band happened at the other end of the 1930s, and that, of course, was World War II. The war began in Europe in 1939 when the German dictator Adolf Hitler began attacking the countries around him. The United States joined the fight in 1941, and battles involving many of the world's nations were fought across Europe, Asia, and North Africa until the war ended in 1945. Even though no battles were actually fought on American soil, the war added tremendous anxiety to a population that was still struggling from the Depression. Most Americans had friends or relatives serving overseas, and the death toll from the battles there were tremendous. Every available resource had to go towards what was called the war effort, meaning that people were forced to ration everyday items like gasoline, metal, and rubber. Fashion styles were pared way back so that as much fabric could be used to go towards the war effort as possible. And even small items like chewing gum had to be rationed because at the time, one of the ingredients in gum was rubber. In the midst of all this struggle and anxiety, the energy, passion, and romance of big band swing gave people hope. By this point in time, the big bands had become so popular that they were performing in huge dance halls, often for more than 5,000 people. In many ways, these events were a direct predecessor to the arena rock concerts that we go to today. The big bands became intimately involved with the war effort, making special recordings, radio broadcasts, and concert tours for the troops. Not surprisingly, the happy feel of swing music proved hugely popular with our allies in Europe and Asia, and it was a very effective tool for winning over the hearts and minds of our defeated enemies in Germany and Japan once the war was over. So, let's take a closer look at a typical big band and do a bit of analysis, shall we? Here we have a photo of the Bob Crosby Band, one of the classic 1930s big bands. By this point, a standard size for these bands had been established, typically between 16 and 20 musicians. First, you'll notice the horn players there in the background. Most big bands used 5 saxophones, 3 to 4 trombones, and 4 to 5 trumpets. And there on the left, you'll see the bass player. And on the right is the rest of the rhythm section, the piano and guitar player. It's worth mentioning, by the way, that the electric guitar made its first appearance during the swing era, and by 1940, it was being used in most of the big bands. You'll also notice that there are some men and women sitting in chairs off to the side. These were the big band singers who were often referred to as crooners and canaries. Today, we tend to think of the singer as the focal point of any pop or rock band, but during the swing era, it was a different story. Perhaps because so many people played instruments, good musicianship was highly valued. So much so that in a big band, the singers were actually of secondary importance. They would literally sit in chairs on the stage, get up to do a song or two at the appropriate time, and then go back to their seat. Within just a few years, however, the tables would turn. Big band singers tended to be featured on sentimental and romantic ballads. And during the war, these kind of songs proved tremendously popular with the public. As recording technology improved, singers were able to put more feeling and subtlety into their performances, and the music industry soon realized that pushing singers as opposed to bands would lead to much bigger profits. Some famous canaries who got their start in the big bands include Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, and Doris Day. Frank Sinatra and Perry Como were 2 male crooners who went on to fame as solo artists. Unfortunately, our performance budget for this project didn't include a singer or a full 18-piece big band. But what I can present to you now is a burnin' little big band that'll give you a great idea of what 1930 swing was all about. You probably noticed that right from the beginning of this song, the bass player and guitar player, along with my bass drum, come out swinging, playing solid time on all 4 quarter notes. You can really hear how this 4-to-the-bar feel delivers incredible momentum, and believe me, it made dancers go nuts back in the swing era. In fact, I bet some of you are tapping your feet along with the band right now. I'd also like to note that by this point in the evolution of jazz, the upright bass had completely taken over from the tuba. With an upright bass, it was easy to play that fast 4-on-the-floor tempo like the one in this song continuously without ever having to take a breath.